Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about fear, because I see in the chat comments below that 90% of the comments have to do with fear. You're expressing to me that you're afraid to come out. You're expressing to me you're afraid to tell your parents, your loved ones, you're transgender. You're expressing that you're afraid to take the first steps. You're afraid to explore your gender identity. You're afraid to make those actionable steps toward booking surgery. Lots of fears in different contexts and different realms. The thing about the fear is that we all have fears, right? Fear is very common human emotions. Everybody on the planet feels some form of fear in a different context, under different circumstances. Of course, your fears are going to be related to your gender identity, to dysphoria, and to maybe any steps that you do plan or wish to take in relationship to gender. So I wanted to comment here and I wanted to share with you something about fear, because recently I've been very fortunate to get invited to present at Google Transgender Conference. I'm very grateful for Google to have me on there. And my presentation was about fear of going back in the workplace and fear about going back in the world after the COVID, right? After a prolonged period of time of isolating. And I talked about fear and I shared what's really underneath that fear. And I want to extrapolate out of that presentation to share with all of you today in hopes of helping you also overcome your fears, so that you can also better understand your fears, where it comes from, and how it tends to affect you. So let's talk about fear, because like I said, it is such a common emotion. We all fear things. We are all afraid of so many different elements in life. Well, if you see, the first thing you need to understand about fear is where it tends to come from. Fear tends to fall into two major categories. Category number one is a physiological sense of fear. For example, you're walking down an alleyway and you see a lion. And everything in your body, everything in your muscles, in your bones is telling you to turn around and run. This is a fear that is telling you to seek safety. This is a physiological type of fear response that is trying to protect you. That's the type of fear you want to listen to. That's the type of fear you want to pay attention to. It's this physiological, and I'm sure some of us have felt it in certain circumstances. Maybe when you're driving and somebody gets really close to you and you're about to collide, you have that physiological response to move your car away, or in any other circumstances. So this is a fear to seek safety. Fear number two. Fear number two has everything to do with 90% of things in our life. Yes, I know, very high percentage. And what that 90% has to do is with just one thing: doing things. That's right, us just doing things. It's a fear that has to do with us being afraid of just doing damn things. Afraid to come out, afraid to go to work and tell your HR that you're trans, afraid to ask somebody out, afraid to go on a dating site for the first time, afraid to have sex for the first time, afraid to present somewhere for the first time, afraid to write the book you've been wanting to write. Well, you know, I've been wanting to write a book, so afraid to write that book for the first time, afraid to put yourself in front of a camera, afraid to create a social account. Fear, 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 fear. Sounds familiar? We all fear things, and it always has to do about just doing damn things, right? We're so afraid of just taking those first steps. And here's the thing. The only way to combat that fear of doing things, of just doing the damn things you want to do, is to take action. That's right. Just take action. Now, I know you're looking at me and you're sitting there scratching your head and you're thinking, well, I already knew that. I already knew I had to take action. So you're not telling me anything new. It's the action that I'm really afraid to take. And yes, I know you're afraid to take action. And I know you also realize that the only way to combat it is to do things, right? To move forward in spite of the fear. So I'm going to share with you something I shared at that Google presentation. And I'm going to share to you what's really underneath that fear of taking the action. Now, you know already you're fearing just doing things, and you know already that you're also going to have to take action, and you're afraid to take action. But what's underneath that? Here's the thing. Underneath being afraid to take action, if I were to dig really deep and excavate and get to the unconscious roots of what's tying and running that fear, it is always the same thing for all of us. you're afraid you won't be able to handle it. That's right. You and I and everybody else, we're all afraid we won't be able to handle it. Think for a second. If you're going to tell me that's not true, that what you're really afraid is you're afraid to get yourself out there because you're afraid you're going to get misgendered. Well, here's the thing. Yes, that's true. That is a fear. Underneath that fear, the roots of the fear of being misgendered is that you're afraid that you won't be able to handle it. Because you see, if you think about your life and you think about in the past, everything that you ever done, everything you ever feared, and you took action, and it was still scary, but you did it. And guess what happened? You got a handle on it, right? And what happens when you get a handle on things? You no longer fear it, right? So this is how this works. You feel like you can't handle it, and it's true. You can't handle it. And the reason why you can't handle it, because you haven't been in that situation yet. It's new. It's a new frontier. It's a new experience. You're not meant to have skill set to handle it. So first and foremost, I want you all to remind yourselves that it is normal to feel this way because you don't have the skill set to handle it. Then take that action. Prove to yourself that you can handle it. The more you handle certain things, the less you fear it. The more you handle getting out there and showing yourself to the world, the better handle you get on it. So the fear becomes minimized. Once the fear becomes minimized, the more you're out there doing it. Do you see how this tends to work? It all has to do with handling it, and it all has to do with reminding ourselves that, well, you're not really meant to get the grip, to have the experiences to be able to deal with it until you're actually dealing with it. That's the darn things that we all need to realize. That's underneath all of these fears that we're having is that you can't handle it. And yeah, first thing is acknowledging that's right. We can't handle it. I can't handle it. But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it so that I can learn how to handle it. What you need to realize about the fear is that fear is always going to be there. Today it's going to be a fear of coming out. Tomorrow it's going to be a fear about getting into a relationship. The after tomorrow, a year from tomorrow, it's going to be a fear of starting a family. You're going to have your first baby and you're going to be afraid to drop it on a damn floor. Fear and life coexist together. Write it somewhere, put it somewhere. Fear and life coexist together. There's no way separating fear from life. They're not meant to be separated. Why? Because this is the fear that is telling you to get out there in spite of how you feel, because it's telling you that what you're fearing is that you can't handle it because you haven't learned to handle it yet, and it's going to show you how to handle it. This is the fear you want to learn how to take hand in hand. You want to learn how to embrace this fear, how to invite it in. You know why? Because this is the fear that makes us grow. How do we grow? By handling shit. The more we handle shit, the more what happens? We feel confident, right? We feel good about ourselves. Think past on any moment in your life that you were afraid. Think past maybe at the first job you applied for. When you went for that interview and the fear you felt. Maybe the first day at work and you were afraid whether you're going to get along with your coworkers. But you did it anyway, right? And now, because you're handling it, do you ever think about it? No. It's probably not even something that enters your headspace. So this is how things work. We take action and we learn how to handle it. It's all about learning how to handle it. And of course, we're all going to be scared because we haven't been there yet. It's uncharted territory. It's a new territory. And all we can do is have exploratory mind. Get out there, explore, be like one of those, you know, when you get a puppy or you get a kitten or you get a cat or you adopt a dog that's older and you bring them into your house space and they walk around, they're sniffing every corner. What they're really doing is they're kind of like setting inside their Rolodex where everything is specially. And they're also scared, but they're learning how to handle it. Because now they're out there in this comfort zone. Now that zone becomes a comfort zone. So we have to be like those puppies. We have to be like those kittens. We have to sniff around, be exploratory, mind our safety, don't do anything that is going to put us in jeopardy, and just do damn things. So that's what I really wish for all of you. I really wish for all of us, myself included too, not to fear things so much, to learn to recognize that those fears are good for us. They're so essential for our growth. So comment below, let me know, what have you just realized that you're not able to handle? How are you going to handle it? Maybe, better yet, drop below what's one thing you're going to take on. What's one thing you're going to try to combat and you're trying to handle it. So comment below, let me know, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.